All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. In today's webinar, we will be discussing maximizing engagement, advanced strategies for targeting your audience. My name's Alex Cunningham. I am a deliverability consultant here at Act On. I've worked in the email marketing industry for over 5 years now and have helped countless businesses around the globe improve their email campaigns. I currently reside in beautiful, sunny St. Petersburg, Florida.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. My name is Taylor. I've been on the deliverability team at Act On for about a year now. I've gotten a lot of my experience by working for a boutique marketing agency, and then I helped independently build an email marketing department for a local Portland, Oregon-based brand, which is where I live. So, yeah.
Thank you, Taylor. So before we get started, we did want to take a quick second to highlight the deliverability services that we offer here at Act On. So on our team, we have a team full of consultants that are here to keep a close eye on your deliverability, even when you aren't able to. That's really important. But if you were working with us, you would have a dedicated consultant whom you would meet with either monthly or quarterly to help strategize and help enhance some of your email marketing efforts. With that does include access to granular reporting that help kind of paint the entire picture for how your deliverability and engagement is performing. But most importantly, we will be an ally that are here ready to go to bat for you when things do get tough.
Awesome. Thank you, Alex. So to get us started, I want to break down what segmentation actually is and how it can generate worthwhile results. So segmentation is all about specifically focusing on your target niches and creating personalized content resulting in optimization, retention, and deliverability worth bragging about. So for some brands, segmentation is a strategy simply when they need to market different products to different segments. However, for others, a rise in spam complaints or low email click rates can be turned around by smartly targeting those that are specifically engaged with your content. Although we're unable to know what percentage of emails arrive in the inbox versus the spam folder, we can make inferences by analyzing some key metrics for our emails. So, bounce rates, open rates, unsubscribe rates, click-through rates, and spam complaints. These are among some of the metrics that give marketers insight as to how people react to and engage with their emails. Monitoring these types of metrics over time reveals trends in audience activity and engagement. Alex, what are some of the benchmarks you typically strive for when working with your clients?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we're looking at open rates, it does vary whether you are a B2B to B2C sender, but if you are primarily a B2B sender, it would be roughly between 12 to 17%. For B2C, it's roughly 20 to 25% for open rates. Click rates, it would be anything between 1 and 3%. For bounces, for hard bounces specifically, it's going to be below 1%. And for soft bounces, it's between around 2 to 3%, probably 3 to 5% for our B2B senders. And then for unsubscribes and spam complaints, the unsubscribe rate, we want to stay below 1% as well. And then the spam complaint rate, we want to stay below 0.1%.
Awesome. Yeah, I'd have to agree. Honestly, those metrics make for really healthy accounts. Thank you. So while there are multiple ways to try and segment, behavioral and engagement segmentation tend to have more of a direct impact on deliverability metrics and performance. Behavioral segmentation can significantly improve the customer and prospect experience overall. Essentially, behavioral segmentation analyzes user behavior and then uses what you learn from those actions to accurately identify your audience's actual needs to create personalized marketing strategies. So, for example, behavioral segmentation analyzes user behavior such as what content they downloaded, the sites they visited on your website, whether they submitted a form, registered for a webinar, wink, wink. So, engagement is one of the most important factors in email deliverability since it directly impacts sender reputation, both for the marketer and the email service providers such as Gmail, Yahoo, Hotmail. An email sender reputation is a score that an internet service provider assigns to an organization that sends email. It's a crucial component of your email deliverability. So the higher the score, the more likely an ISP will deliver emails to the inboxes of recipients on their network. Having a stellar sender reputation is a key to great email deliverability. Sending only to engaged subscribers is especially a really good tactic to employ if you're having problems with high bounce rates. Engagement segmentation analyzes behavior such as when they haven't been sent any emails, when they haven't received any of your emails, or when they don't open any of your emails within the first 12 months of subscribing. Engagement segments also addresses one of the big email marketing challenges, identifying subscribers who seem to have lost interest in your content. Are there potentially active subscribers at the other end of those email addresses who may just need a nudge to re-engage? Or are you just sending emails to an abandoned email address? It's important to find out if your inactive subscribers can be re-engaged. If not, there are an unnecessary costs to keep around if there's no chance of ROI, and they will slowly damage your deliverability. Next slide, please. All right, so by making these segments, marketers can have a better idea about what product or service might appeal to that particular person's tastes, which makes promoting products more effective by understanding target consumers' behavior patterns. Even if this doesn't lead to a home run conversion every single time, the data you can acquire on where people go and why can provide an opportunity for targeted advertising on prospects in the future. When you achieve regular engagement, it demonstrates that your audience finds value in your emails, and that increases deliverability. Essentially, if your domain has a good reputation, it will signal to ISPs that your emails are relevant and beneficial to the recipient, hence landing them in their inbox. ISPs and mailbox providers alike ultimately decide where emails land, and domain reputation is one of the key determinants of that. If you segment, understand, and keep your audience interested, you're going to find yourself with great inbox placement along with happy customers. Honestly, a true win-win, if you ask me.
All right. Thank you, Taylor. So in this next section, we really wanted to kind of dive into and delve further into some of those strategies and best practices that we think would be helpful to maximizing engagement. The end goal is a satisfied customer, and we do think that some of these strategies will help achieve that. The first one is going to be a focus on your engaged subscribers. So as Taylor highlighted, it's going to be really important that we incorporate a segmentation plan to help identify unengaged contacts, because what we do know is that if you are repeatedly sending to unengaged contacts, it does hinder your ability to reach the inbox consistently. And that even includes the contacts that have been actively engaging in the past. These contacts are also far more likely to mark an email as spam, and those addresses also turn into spam traps, which are addresses that have become dormant. But yes, we want to suppress these contacts in line with the segmentation criteria that we have in place. The next thing would be that we do want to implement a sunset policy to give the subscribers a last chance to continue receiving emails. A sunset policy can be it's best described as a list segmentation strategy that you would use to prevent you from sending too many emails to those unengaged contacts. So again, the goal is to improve engagement rates and your email deliverability overall. We want the subscribers to understand that we will not continue to email them if they aren't actively engaging with our content. We want that to be clear. And in that last chance, we do want to make that messaging clear as well, which kind of transitions nicely into the importance of our call to actions. We want those to be concise and clear as well. Having multiple different touch points is also really important. But a well-crafted CTA is pretty straightforward and also encourages urgency, I would say. But yeah, there are a lot of examples of things you could do, whether it's to buy or review a product or service, whether it's feedback from a recent experience, educational topics as well. Those all would classify as well-crafted call to actions. We also want to make sure that our addresses are consistent, which this is the actual sending address that you use to send your mail out. We want to make sure that the subscriber is, when they're receiving that mail, that it's the right type of mail. And a good example of this is that we don't necessarily want to mix our marketing content with our transactional notifications, as an example. So there is a great quote, I think, that says your brand name is only as good as your reputation. And so from an email marketing perspective, the goal is to give our subscribers what they want. At least I think so. At least I think that's what the goal should be. But I think the question that we have to ask ourselves is, how do we do that effectively? And what we know is that the best way to do that is just by asking. So on the right here, we'll see that we have a preference management center, which when you use the preference management center, the best thing that it does is it gives you peace of mind that you're sending the right type of message. We do encourage including this with your welcome email so that you're kind of starting off on the right foot. It's a small ask initially for your subscribers, but that it's something that they're going to value and be appreciative of. We also want to make sure that we are properly testing before we send. So within Act On, I'm sure many of you are aware of the A/B testing feature that we have available. I usually suggest testing the content, the design, and the timing of your mail and when those emails are going out. But just as a few quick tips, I usually suggest about 3 to 5 words for the subject line on average. But then also think about the pre-header text that you use as well, because that is also a great opportunity along with the subject line to grab that attention. And then lastly, one thing that can really hurt your reputation is if you don't have an easy way for people to unsubscribe. So I do encourage having a one-click unsubscribe option. And then again, kind of refraining from the cross-subscribe, which is in line with what we talked about with our segmentation strategies. Another important concept or kind of component to trying to maximize your engagement is going to be when you schedule your mail, and then how much you are mailing. So your volumes and your frequencies. The first thing that we like to discuss when we're in a meeting with a client is the option to send over time, which is a feature in Act On, which we have pictured here, which is a great way to send high volumes of mail over a set period of time. I do think that this is the best way to send from Act On. If you are sending, again, a lot of mail, we aren't going to be overwhelming a particular recipient server with too much mail. Let's say you have a lot of people from the same company that you're mailing. So the more you can spread those out, the better. But then it also allows you to follow the results closely as well. So if you need to make any adjustments, you can quickly kind of do that with that feature. We do often get asked, though, the what is the best time to send mail? And there's definitely a lot of things to consider, a lot of variables there in terms of the content. If you're sending to your most engaged, or if it's moderately engaged folks, etc. But in general, I think having a window between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. Monday through Friday is often what we would suggest. But again, it's important to note that you also want to be consistent with those as well, which I think sometimes goes under the radar. A lot of people do value receiving, the same type of content at the same time. So I think that's also something to take into account. But ultimately, we want to make sure that we're sending the right type of content, what they've signed up for, that it's at the right frequency, that it's not too little, too much. With that, we can be pretty confident that the campaign is going to be performing well, and we wouldn't necessarily need to get too bogged down by, what minute or second the email goes out. Another concept that's coming up more and more now is email fatigue, which, as we have shown here, email fatigue can be described as a feeling subscribers would have when they believe they're receiving an overwhelming number of emails. Taylor, I wanted to ask you, do you have any advice that you would give your clients when they seemingly are facing email fatigue?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I guess to get to the root of it, I'll typically ask the client a series of questions. So, for example, is the segment being sent to an engaged audience? Are the recipients in the target audience of the email? And is this relevant? Is this relevant content? Once we get to the bottom of each of these questions, we can properly strategize and, go from there.
Agreed. Thank you. I think that's really important because there is a lot of data out there that shows that right now subscribers are probably getting about, or can be getting about 8 to 10 emails per month on average, which does have the potential to overwhelm them if that isn't kind of in line with their expectations. But yeah, the ways in which this can happen are kind of listed here as well, and they're pretty self-explanatory. Obviously, someone's change in interest would have an impact there on how they're feeling about the mail that they're getting. If they didn't have the preference center in initially and they weren't able to subscribe to that particular channel of mail, and then the frequency, if it is too much, if it begins to increase after sign up, and then also if it's too much content across multiple channels. So if it's if they're constantly kind of being bombarded, or if they feel that way, that can contribute as well. But again, we are looking to find the right balance. So I know last month our colleagues discussed really, really helpful list hygiene practices. We can couple those with segmentation strategies. And those are a great way to kind of help prevent us from having too many subscribers kind of reach this point. On this page, a lot of you may be thinking about re-engagement campaigns, re-engagement emails, things like that, that are also becoming more popular. And we do discuss those as well. And we do encourage our clients to incorporate those when they can. With those, you do want to kind of just make sure that you're asking yourself if, or when you are reaching out, you want to make sure it's clear that they need to engage with those emails if they want to continue to receiving them. But again, that should be similar to a sunset policy. It should be working in line with that, where it is going to be the last touch point that they would get before you would potentially begin suppressing them. So something that may not be as glamorous or as fun as the other components that we discussed is authentication with DKIM and SPF. Without getting too technical, I think the best way to describe it is that it notifies the server that you're sending to that Acton is authorized to send on your behalf. So they can be confident that we are indeed a trusted sender for your mail. It's also important that it's set up in every account. So after our webinar today, we will be sending up follow-up materials, and that will include a link to all of the documentation that we have for setting this up, because it is becoming just more and more increasingly important that this is properly configured. Some of you may have come across DMARC, which isn't something that we require in Acton. And that's because with DKIM and SPF, you would pass DMARC protocols. DMARC is something that we do suggest people have in place on their domain as a whole, which you can work with your DNS provider to do. But it is not a requirement in Acton. And we also thought it'd be helpful to include some trends here for 2023. Obviously, there's going to be, obviously, everything is obviously constantly evolving. And so for me, I think one of the most important ones is creating that symbiotic kind of relationship with our customers, and having them, making them feel loved, making sure that they do love the emails that they're receiving. I think also a great way to do that is by kind of staying true to your promises, and then showing that appreciation again, for their interests and their engagement. Also, accessibility, also extremely important. We need to make sure that our emails are accessible across all different devices. A/B testing is really important and really helpful to do that as well. Apple MPP updates. So another trend I would say, and something that's we're talking about more and more on our team, is kind of the trend away from using opens as your main data point. I think right now most of our team are pushing the your CTRs and conversions as your main KPIs. It's just because open rates are not going to be as reliable as they once were. So we do need to keep that in mind. I will say it's important to note, if you are seeing some inflated open rates, you can feel confident that even if those were from Apple MPP, that the email landed in the inbox, which is not something that you can say if you weren't getting those machine generated opens. Lastly, just to kind of call back, I think, on some, just reiterating again the importance of just being as personalized as you can with your messaging, and then also being granular with how we segment. So the more granular that we can be with our segmentation, the better. And again, overall, I think while there's a lot changing again in the landscape in this day and age, and there's a lot of different channels in which we can reach our customers, one thing that we can say for certain is that we know users are more likely to share their data with us if they do believe it's going to be a highly personalized experience.
Awesome. Thank you, Alex. Good stuff. So yeah, as you can see, having solid deliverability is more than just authenticating your email domains and maintaining proper IP allocation, though those are equally as important. Implementing proper engagement segmentation along with solidifying your reputation by optimizing your sends and tightening up subscriber management are among some of the most important strategies for improving your inbox placement. The main takeaway here is sending the right message to the right people at the right time is the ultimate recipe for deliverability success. Cool. And if you like what you heard today and want to learn more about your organization's deliverability, feel free to reach out to your account manager or customer success manager for more information. We really have a good team and we would love to hear from you.
And on that note, we, on behalf of my colleague Taylor and I, just want to thank you all for attending the webinar today on maximizing engagement. We had a great time and we definitely hope that you did as well. But with that, we will now move into our question and answer section.
Hi, everyone.
All righty. Hi, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. Let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and dive into these. So yeah, so we do have a question. Samantha, we wanted to hop on this question regarding B2B stats. Those stats are global. So those are not specific to the US. One thing that we are working on is we are working on benchmarks. Obviously, those are constantly changing, but those are global statistics, not just United States based.
Awesome. Yeah, super good question. We also had another one come in. This one was from Erica. She asked how to combat internal demands to send as many emails as possible to as many recipients as possible with knowing what we know about the importance of reducing email load and utilizing segmentation. This is a really good question and a question we get asked all the time. So this is a common concern. I guess I just want to reiterate that quality rather than quantity is just such an important, thing to remember. Instead of focusing solely on numbers, you should prioritize creating quality connections with your subscribers, right? So the size of your email list, it doesn't determine the strength of your business. And secondly, your subscribers may have opted into receiving your newsletter only to gain access to a specific piece of content or a discount code or whatever it may be. If they had no interest in the marketing emails that followed, they're likely to just ignore them. This is a popular, situation, and it's a phenomenon called gray mail. So again, super good question and definitely a valid concern. But yeah, it's always quality over quantity.
Agreed. So another question that we have that kind of piggybacks on what I was alluding to with re-engagement strategies is the idea of what is the best way to kind of reintroduce contacts that haven't engaged as much, because obviously we understand that with segmentation that does mean that your subscriber base is going to be more refined. You wouldn't necessarily be reaching having the same outreach in terms of that quantity. But it is, again, like Taylor just said, it is the quality that we're going for here. And so the first thing to do that is going to be to segment appropriately. So that's utilizing both behavioral and engagement segmentation, I would say first and foremost. Then I think it's setting up a schedule that works for you. I work with some clients that have a re-engagement type strategy that is over the course of a month. We have others that do it over the course of a few months. And depending on that would kind of help you gauge how many emails to send and how often, I would say. If it's over a course of a few months, it would be maybe every couple of weeks. Whereas if it's over just 1 month, it may be one a week or so. Before doing that, though, it's important to test. Again, obviously, super important. We want to make sure that we're sending emails that are going to be obviously that they're accessible on different devices, and that just looking at all the different ways in which we can change the subject lines, the content, etc. The call to actions as well, making sure that those you can incentivize those. I would say that's more common with re-engagement plans, is having some type of incentivization with your call to action. And then lastly would be knowing when to let them go, I would say. So in any re-engagement type strategy, I always recommend having there should be a point where we remove those contacts from your active subscribers. So either unsubscribing them or moving them to a general suppression list that we aren't going to be sending to unless we try maybe a re-engagement campaign again in the future. But I think those are the main things. So it's segmenting appropriately, having a good schedule, testing, having call to actions that are actionable or incentivized, and then knowing when to unsubscribe.
Nailed it. Incredible.
Thank you. Let's see. So we also talked about send methods. So I think that not a lot of people are kind of aware of the different send methods that Acton has available. And I touched on the send over time feature, which is probably one that's maybe more common outside of just sending right away. There's also a few others that can impact and help your deliverability. One of those is adaptive sending. So within Acton, right where you have the option to select how you'd like to send the email, there is an option for that adaptive sending. And it's really cool because what it does is it sends based off of prior engagement factors for each specific recipient. So you can still schedule those out over a certain time frame, and you will want to do that in advance as well. At the moment, it does only work for one-time sends. I think we're working on some things to make it available for automated programs as well. but it's really cool. So yeah, it's going to look at that specific recipient's engagement patterns, whether that's, tuning into a webinar, filling out a form. So all engagement factors, not just email, and it sends based off that.
Yeah, there's another one too, which is the time zone sending. And that sends based on the time zone that has been set in the contact's time zone field. So it's really great for time sensitive emails, and it just, is great for accommodating all different types of contacts and their needs.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you, Taylor. So with that, we would like to wrap up here, I think, and just thank you all again for joining us. We will be sending out the materials that we talked about already, as well as a link to the on-demand portion of this after the meeting. There'll also be a way for you to contact us through those links as well. But thank you all, and hope you all have a great day.
Yeah, thank you so much. Have a good day.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.